Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you all. Well, let's go to the blue agenda. Well, we're going to talk about the replacement of educational programs and operations, EP&O levy. Levy items, and under that is levy items and prioritization of items, levy items, prior levies, levy items for replacement, levy length and collection rate. Diane, would you like to lead us in this?
Yeah, I will. And then, of course, tonight there are no decisions being made. But so you understand the process. I will be meeting with attorney, a legal team tomorrow, because our resolution has to be prepared by an attorney. And so giving him some direction of where we think we're headed so that I can prepare a series of resolutions that you can choose from at your next board meeting based on what I hear tonight. And then the other thing that needs to happen after this meeting is Jan has to prepare what we would put on our EP&O levy, and OSPI has to approve it first. So those two things need to happen before we turn our resolution into a ballot item, and that has to be done by the 1st of December. That's why we're kind of in this window of having to do things.
Sure.
So I thought I would start again, and you can say, no, I don't need to go through all this, but you saw this again for the third time, I think, last time board meeting, but I thought I'll just put this in there again to make sure we're really, really clear on what it is and what it isn't. You guys need any copies out there?
Sure.
I'm just going to let you.
Struggle through.
Yeah, in case you need some copies. So you want to present again.
This is in present.
Oh, it's okay. Bonds are for buildings, levies are for learning. And so the reason we passed levies, which used to be maintenance and operation, now EP&O levies are for unfunded local money. I mean, local money that is for unfunded, either mandates or unfunded things that the state do not provide. And so we're going out on the February 2025 ballot. And again, that needs to be into the county treasurer or county assessor somewhere around December the 10th, somewhere in there. I don't have the exact date. Needs a 50+1 voters approval, simple majority. We've never not passed a levy. In fact, ours have been very strong. Oh, back in the 70s?
80s or 90s.
Yeah, but over the last 2 decades.
We've never not passed it. We've just not passed it the first time.
Okay.
Wasn't that a 60% majority that time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they moved it to
57.
simple majority somewhere in early 2000s. You're right. Yeah. And then again, without our approved levy, we would not receive our local effort assistance. That's for property poor or resource poor school districts. And again, that's based on your assessed value, your overall assessed value that you have in your community, both your timber AV and your real estate AV. And when we're compared to other school districts, we're property poor or resource poor. And then again, without our approved EP&O levy, we wouldn't get our junior taxing district timber dollars. That timber dollars, that TAV, the logging lowers your cost per thousand, and we never know where that's going to come in, how much they're going to collect. If we say we're collecting 1.3 million or 714,000, whatever your timber assessed or whatever your timber taxes are, that might lower or increase your real estate taxes. Okay, go to the next one. So here is approximately, can you make that big? That's why I brought, wait a minute, look at your pie chart. That's a little hard to see. Currently, for the last 4 years, and it typically looks like this, about 60% of it is unfunded staffing and unfunded mandates. Our extracurricular activities is about 13% of it. The next big chunk is technology, about 10%. Maintenance, repairs, and equipment, that would be for more minor things, not roofs, major repairs, but minor, 8%. Non-basic education would include music, drama, field trips, enrichment programs as such. Transportation, no, curriculum textbooks is about 5%, transportation 2%, and then food services equipment about 1%. So that gives you a good idea of how it's spent. I want to go to the next one. And I'm going to get more specifics in here, but so there's some of our classified and some of our certificated. I think our certificated staff that are included in the levy are our 2 music teachers and 1 additional math teacher at the high school to reduce the numbers, but actually I don't think we filled that position this year because we couldn't. So you can see about 3, and I'll show you the exact numbers when we get to the spreadsheet, but that when we talk about unfunded positions, remember the state with the prototypical funding model only funds about 9 full-time equivalent classified staff. There's no way we can run our schools based on 9. So then we use grants to pay for some of our classified instructional staff, like our special ed funding, LAP funding, but then we have a whole bunch of staff that are covered nowhere, and that's how we pay for them out of our levy. And that's pretty typical in all schools. Okay, so again, the next sheet talks about the local effort assistant. Again, that's the levy equalization that's given to property poor students. Eligible school districts have above average tax rates due to low property values. And again, we have to pass that general fund levy to qualify to get those local effort assistance dollars. And with that, to get the most of our LEA, the highest level, we have to be at $1.50 per thousand, and that's going to be really challenging. In 2024, we were at 82%. Our property values just went up 4%. We got our new tax assessment. You probably saw that. If you got
Mine went down.
Well,
Go figure.
maybe houses didn't sell in your area. When
Maybe.
houses sell for more in your area, then your taxes go up. And so if you, about 82%, we were only collecting about half of our, and I'm going to get into the numbers here with more information of what that looks like.
So when we passed it the last time, what were we at?
When we passed it the last time, we thought we were going to be at $1.25 per thousand. It actually came in, I think, at something like, I'll share that in a minute. On one of
Okay,
those
go ahead.
sheets. Yeah, it came in at 118. We thought we were going to be at $1.25 per thousand. And then that was somewhere in there when they put the cap on at $1.50, they changed the law that said you have to collect $1.50 per thousand to get all of your LEA.
Okay. And the reasoning behind that, you recall?
The McCleary, when they gave us all the money for McCleary.
They said that we had to get more money from our taxpayers.
Yeah.
Seems kind of counterintuitive. but-
Okay.
Isn't that though?
So this is the local effort assistance. You can see so you can see back in 2020, we were almost getting the full amount. And then in 2021, each time that the valuations went up, assessed valuations went up, is when our collection rate got lower.
Is there any way to increase the rate, the tax rate, in order to keep up with the changes in valuation, so that we consistently over 4 years, if that's what we choose to go to, get the maximum amount?
So if you mean like if the first year we're going to collect $1.3 million, the next year we're going to collect $1.39 million, the next year, is that what you mean? Or are you talking about, because you have to go,
to keep us
the only way to do that is we go year to year.
So, okay, that's something to take into
Yeah.
consideration
We're
when
gonna
we
talk about that.
talk about that.
You can go to the next one. So currently, if you have a $400,000 home at the 80 cents per thousand, your tax rate is 320. If we increased by 70 cents, you're gonna see a home value, wait, what was 320? 320, go to the next slide. Maybe it's on the next slide. Your home value is gonna go for a $400,000 home to $600. You're gonna get taxed.
And this is just in your tax statement that says schools, and that's just for schools.
There are 4 things for
Yeah.
schools. The top 2, if you pull up your taxes, I could do that for someone's. We could just go in this anybody's. The top 2 are state. Those are not put in by us. And then you get all the county stuff. And then at the bottom, it shows our bond rate and it shows our levy rate. Bonds are for buildings, so we're paying off. We have 5 more payments on this building. 5 more principal payments, and then we're done. And then your levy is your for learning, what we're talking
Like the
about.
hospital and the fire and the libraries and all that's added to this.
Those are all, yes, they're listed out when you go into your tax, your specific tax sheet.
And the state also takes a school tax
Mhm.
from us
Yeah,
too,
they're-
right?
Those,
Mhm.
those were added
Those were added to get McCleary.
in the clearing.
You can't increase funding anywhere unless you rearrange the decks, the chairs on the
So,
deck, or you increase your tax rate.
I got that.
Okay, go to the next one. So I put this in here at the, so you can see what we currently are at the top. So find your 400K, 500K, 600K. At the 1% growth rate is the next chart. So you can see that increase. So if you have a $400,000 home, your tax with our EP&O levy and bond currently is at 804. But if we increased it at a 1% growth rate, it would be 1 million or 1,064. So about $200. I learned that we've got a 4% growth in 2025. So if we actually say in 2026, we're going to get another 3%, you can see the math as well.
And the growth rate is how quickly the county has raised the assessed value,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's nothing, it's really kind of artificial.
So we don't, that's a number we don't know. And then the last one I went over is I got this from Corey at DA Davidson. He can project what we would need to collect for a 1% growth, a 3% growth, a 5% growth, and a 6% growth. But that's really, we don't know what that's going to be. There's a lot of moving targets here. But it needs to be at $1.50. So I'm going to walk you through some documents then. So the next one, pull up the next one. Hopefully make this clear as mud. Where it says prior to levies.
Is it this one?
I did not print this one, so pull this up on your computer if you can. The one that's, I just put in there so you can see for what we did in the last 2 levies and this levy, what we said we were gonna do. Can you pull that up?
Oh, it's gonna show though, the way, this is the one, right?
Uh-huh.
I can just, it's not gonna give information like smaller.
I should have printed this one too.
What is it now? Which one? Let's divide them, let's divide them.
We see we went 2018 to 2021 and then 2022 to 2025. You can see that
Yeah,
a lot of the top part is the same. Those are the ones that those are the educational programming, the unfunded costs, personnel costs, all the stuff that we've included, we included again when we prioritize, because those are really about kids. So scroll down a little bit, if you will. Where it says educational programs or maintenance projects.
Mhm.
So you can see the last 2 years we did a series of different things, motor pool upgrades, Chromebooks, smart boards, replacement build, FAS replacement building, a bunch of things over there. Again, that was 2 levies ago. But if you look at the right-hand side, this is what we said we were going to do in this current levy: Chromebooks, laptops, smart boards and installation, FES gym flooring we did, FES bus loop catch basin repair we did, van fleet replacement we did, FHS hot water heater replacement, lighting system, FHS stage, kitchen equipment, FHS tile replacement. We had 2 rooms. We did some biomass maintenance upgrades, garbage and maintenance truck, sealed parking lots, gym locker room remodel we did not do. We need to talk about that tonight. Spartan field fencing we did. We did the FHS roof ridge replacement that patched the leaks over the gym. Spartan gym sand and seal. We did not do transportation wash rack, so we need to talk about that. We're in the process of doing the Works Elementary School roof and heater pumps. Remember we did the $300,000 worth of engineering, so we're ready to roll on that one.
But it's coming out of this levy, the levy we're currently in, or not?
We could still do it over the summer and or into the fall of next year, because remember, our levy years don't match our fiscal years.
Right.
So they overlap.
So we're going to talk about that a little
Yeah.
bit in this. Okay.
But I want you to look at what we thought the assessed value, and something I learned, if you read my Friday memo, we hired that consultant team to work with us to build the systems for a communication plan. And part of what they're going to do is help us get all of our communication out on the EP&O levy. That's one of the first things they're going to help us with. And she said, rather than focusing on the dollar per thousand, school districts are saying this is how much we're going to collect. And then when they go face to face with the public, they explain the dollar per thousand. I believe our community is want to know what the dollar per thousand is going to be. How much is that going to cost me out of my pocket each year if I have a $400,000 home?
In this case, how much more?
Yeah, how much more? Okay, go to the next document, and I did print that out. It looks like this. So I have the side by side, and this was one of the tools we used for communicating to the public, because one of the things we learned a long time ago is that they were mad when we didn't do what we said we were going to do, and so they were more reluctant to vote. And so again, you can see number 1, the assessed value didn't hold up to $1.25. So if our goal is to start at 150, we can probably anticipate a lower rate and not collect that entire amount of, I'll show you what that might look like. Again, this is an arbitrary number. And so it's a matter of what do we need? I'm going to show you what we need, but this is what we put in this when we looked at the things that we need. And then we need to talk about the Augs gym, the transportation wash rack, and how we do the roof and heater pumps. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But again, replacing Chromebooks, we're having to replace some of the displays in all of the classrooms that are failing.
By just those whiteboards?
Uh-huh.
Failing.
Mm-hmm. And they're antiquated. I mean, the technology doesn't even support it now. Yeah.
Well, I guess that happens in a week anyway.
Yeah, and remember, we put all those in 20.
Not very
Wow.
long ago. No, not that long ago.
Yeah, we did.
Not all
2012.
of them. Didn't we
Not
put
all of them. We've got new ones like this in middle school classrooms, in a lot of the elementary school classrooms, but there's still some old
Oh,
technology. We have an inventory of those. Yeah.
flies.
There's a new program called Vivi, and I don't know how well. I think we've piloted some of those in each of the buildings, and that's what we're thinking about going to. It's an app that basically you pair with this and your computer, and that's probably a better way to go. The gym in the elementary school, the wall padding and walls in the gym need repairing. There's carpet on it, and they're coming off. The pads are coming off.
How about just replace it?
Yeah. repair, well, there's some areas you can repair and then some
Okay.
areas you can totally replace. Transportation hydraulic lift is needed. Security camera and phone upgrades, or phone or voice over phone. And I don't know what we have to do. Kyle's been working with the tech team on that. Our security cameras are, I think we still want to do a web-based one, but they were put in sometime, I don't know, in 2008, 2009. And so again, we have to come up, it's just antiquated.
Which were the phone or the?
Both, the security cameras and phone upgrades. Homeschool,
Well, that just seems so long ago, because Ron's been on the, have you been on the board since 2008? And yet,
I
he was
think we
part of
put-
discussion, so what am I missing here?
well,
We
I
have
don't,
some old ones and we have some newer ones, or what's the deal?
the security cameras,
Yeah, well,
we've replaced some.
created some as they've gone out with the newer version, newer technology. But the majority across the district are antiquated
Oh,
and old. And then the technology's gotten better. So I think we've had to.
That's fine, I wasn't arguing, I just seemed like I
Um,
didn't hold it, yes.
Homeschool Plus site improvement, so we've moved the single site on Main Street over into the adjacent room by the new module. There's 2 modules over there, but there's no walkway. So we'd like to put in a walkway so that kids don't have to go through the grass, but that way the 2 staff members that we have with the Homeschool Plus program are connected rather than one being far apart over there. Yeah.
And kids don't have to cross the street.
Yeah.
If that happens.
Again, kitchen equipment, Spartan Field lights replacement. We need some more biomass maintenance. I think Bill is out of town right now, or he could speak to it, but I think there are some, pumps that need to be replaced and they're quite spendy. Spartan track resurface, sealing the parking lots. We're on a schedule, I think every other year, every 3rd year. We put back on there an Og's Gym locker room remodel. We're thinking something very simple where we don't necessarily have to put in lockers and all of that, but making it modern, because that is used quite frequently, not only from our middle school students and our little leagues.
Has it been remodeled since 1960? No.
It
Still the
still
same
smells,
when
it
you-
looks and smells the same.
Yeah.
We need to replace the Spartan wrestling mats. In talking with Kyle, you could refurbish them. Those were bought in 2012 as well. But the newer ones are much lighter. They're made out of a different padding system, so they wouldn't require 20 people to move those?
It's a lot of bodies to move those things.
Yeah.
That's what you have wrestlers for.
I know.
And then there's replace the roof and heater pumps at the elementary school, Spartan Gym sand and seal. And this is again predicated, assuming that we're doing a 4-year. If we did a 1-year or 2-year, we would change this. Do we include the transportation wash rack? I will tell you, in the planning part, when you look at the money, it doesn't work out. So we got to figure out something for that. I put that on there twice. Sorry. Again, this isn't ready to be published, but it's just going through. Cardio equipment for athletes and gym kids at the high school. And we need an ice machine replaced at Forks High School for our athletic programs. And so if we were going to start in 2026, I'll show you what we would collect. We would start at $1.50. I'm assuming that we're going to have at least 4% growth of AV. So then that's what it would look like if we did the 4% growth each year of where that would be.
So ended up at $1.30.
And I'll show you what the money looks like. Okay, now go to the next. There's a list now of items.
Levy plan.
Again, this is an assumption that we would do, for some reason on yours too, if you see the FES roof, that should be highlighted in a bright yellow. So let me talk about, so there's 2 things on here. up at the top in 2027, 28, and 28, 29, I've highlighted the 3.9 million dollars of personnel and unfunded costs. The reason I did that is because we know what the cost is going to be in 25, 26, and 26, 27 because we've bargained those salaries out. We haven't bargained for 27, 28, or 28, 29. So those personnel costs could go up. So we don't know what that's going to look like. And then the items that I have on the left that are highlighted in yellow could actually be funded through grants. We've been really good about finding grants. Like one of the items in one of the old levies was to replace the Alti modular, and we found a grant for that. So we've been able to find a lot of grants, and I think we could do the Spartan Field lighting grant through the RCO office like we've done our other grants. There's a urgent repair grant right now at OSPI that we could apply for the FES roofing, and we're going to apply for that. So that might be something that we take off the plate. But scroll up. If you look at the items though, oh, and then going down. So go way down to the bottom where it shows for us to get at $1.50 per thousand now, we would have to collect $1,391,000. That would give us a LEA at 4.9 million, almost $5 million. So look at the math there. If we included all of those items in the first year, we're about $1 million short. And so we might have to prioritize again. I think what you asked me at the last meeting was, what would that look like? So
But if you take the school roof out, though, you're not.
correct, then we would have an additional $1 million perhaps. Because the other thing that you're going to decide tonight is whether or not we're going to accept the RCO grant, the youth facilities, and that's for the fast pitch or baseball fields, and that is $1.3 million, but we have to come up in the next 2 years with an additional $2 million to get that done. So that means we either have to rely on timber dollars and transfer those from the debt service over into the general fund or capital projects like we've done, and we're slowly starting to see that build again. But again, it's going to depend on our logging industry, and it's pretty iffy right now, especially when we have folks voting no at the Board of Natural Resources for timber sales because they want to put some of our lands into legacy timber areas. We also, Jan is closing out the books, almost done closing out the books for this school year, and we know that we will have about $10,600,000 in the bank. So we do have reserves that we could tap into. Generally, what happens when we plan this out, if we're not in the ballpark, we can massage based on grants and then go, oh, well, this isn't coming in quite as much as we thought. It's less. We make it all work because it's kind of fluid. But the one thing that we can't count on, we don't know what prices are going to be for some of these items. The longer you wait in our society, whatever president we get, we're going to know that there's going to be some kind of unforeseen cost, whether it's because of increased inflation, tariffs, whatever. I mean, I don't want to get into the politics of everything, but you don't know what's going to happen. So that's kind of like you don't know.
So is it too much trouble to prioritize this list, and then as money drops or comes in, you can take things off the list, starting at the bottom and the least important, and work your way up?
Definitely.
Is that something we would do or you would do?
I would want your input. And generally what I've learned in the past, we would want to categorize it. Is it like a roof? Well, you need roof and heating.
Right.
You don't have a roof, you're not taking care of your buildings. If you don't have heating, your kids are cold. And then you would want to go to the next layer. What's more oriented towards students and what's more oriented? What do we wait on?
Right.
And you don't have to do that tonight. You can even plan for your levy and then make those changes as the year progresses when you learn more things about what's going to happen. But this is generally what we have done and done pretty well at it.
What happens in the event of an emergency? Let's say a storm rips your roof off. State covers that.
No, our
Your
insurance pool does.
Now, if you got up and ripped the roof off, I don't know if they cover it.
But you can see then in, for example, in 26, 27, let's say that we do the, upgrade, we start the work on the fast pitch. And I want to talk about that tonight at our regular meeting, the fast pitch and the, baseball fields. We already know that there's some engineering they're going to do because right now the elementary parking lot floods really bad. And that playground is really old. I'm sorry, but the the slippery slide has to go, no matter how long it's been there.
Didn't they redo that elementary playground?
That was a
Toward the
different-
back, not the front one.
Front one's, I think, from when I was.
Uh-huh. You slid down the slide.
It's actually.
I know
from
because my
generation.
husband said he did. Yeah. And I think the monkey bars are really old. So what we would do is want to plan when we're doing the improvement for the fields in the back, where you're doing the engineering underneath the playground to drain the parking lot and then put in a new playground. We put about 600,000 for the playground. There are tons of grants for that. I feel very confident. So you can almost do the math here. We're in the negative 600,000 for that year. If we got a grant for that, it'd be even. I did take into account the decline of what we would be getting for LEA. So the first year we get 4.9 if we saw assessed value, because you can't change that collection rate in a 4-year levy. Once you get it, say we're going to collect $1.3 million each year, then that's going to dictate what your LEA we get. So I adjusted that at the bottom there so you can see potentially how that's going to decline. Now we have a really good year in assessed valuation and it goes up 28%. That's when we start losing that LEA, and we don't have any control over that. We don't know what that's going to be. It's kind of the magic ball. So then what are the options? Your options are your magic 8 ball. What's it going to be? Is it going to be, $1.50 per thousand or whatever? So really what your choices are going to be, do we go out for another 4-year levy? Or do you shorten it, do a 2-year levy? If you could, what do you think the voters of Forks? We have generally done a 4-year levy and then they know that's the collection rate for 4 years and that seems to sell. You could potentially do a 2-year levy and then when we go out for the bond in 2027, you pair your bond with your levy and you give them the package. This is all of what it's going to be. That's what Port Angeles is doing right now. It will be interesting to see how theirs turns out. They're on the
Yeah,
November.
because they never pass them anyway.
Seems like you have all ones. Boom.
Well, we did do that when we passed the 2012. I didn't think it would work, but it actually worked really well because I could say, this is your dollar per thousand for 4 years.
Yeah, but the building one will go longer.
Yeah, 20 to 30 years.
Yeah.
For sure. So you wanted to know what it was we needed. We believe this is what we need. The other thing that I think you need to know, I think we're in the second year of the biennium in legislation. Or are we in a new? We're in the second year, yeah.
Yeah.
When they get a new 2-year, I do not believe there's going to be any changes to funding, the prototypical funding model in legislation. There might be more special ed dollars and MSOC, materials, supplies, operating costs. And we'll see maybe a slight, like the increase we saw last year was minimal. Kyle, what was it for special ed? A 3% increase? We went from 15 to 18%.
It's at 16% right now,
And next year it's going to be at 17.
13 to 16.
But we're not going to see any huge changes. However, because more and more school districts are going into binding conditions and you're going to learn that there are more, they're going to eventually have to do something. Where that happens in the next continuum, probably in the next biennium. So I think what I want to hear are what are your thoughts on the increasing the 80 cent collection to, or going from 714,000 to $1.39, whatever I gave you to hit our target of $1.50, because that's what would be on the ballot.
Double.
Yeah, it'll double. And then what messaging? And if not, what do we cut out of here, knowing that we're not going to, if we were to stay at status quo, there's no way we can do all this.
Well, we've always had success explaining that by maximizing the
Collection
the
rate,
collection rate, we maximize the LEA, and people are for that. We might have to do a little explaining as to why the collection rate doubled. You know, the floor,
the
the
floor.
$1.50, why
Mhm.
it's that and not. But I'm for, I mean, I think it makes business sense to maximize the levy assistance or yeah, you know what I'm saying. That's my feel. What else was the other question? How often you want to do it?
and then do you want to do it 1, 2, 3, or 4-year levy?
Well,
I
four,
think 4 sounds better.
4 is nice just because you can forget it for a little bit.
My gut feeling is 4 too, or 4 as well. And then we figure out that we either when we know exactly what we collect and where that dollar is, then you help me prioritize what those items are. We will continue to be very aggressive in going after grants. And we do a good job doing that. That's the other thing that we need to let the public know. Number one, they didn't technically get their taxes increased to get our stadium. Number two, a lot of this is for instructional practices and programs for kids.
Well,
That's
and
the other part that they really need to hear. It's not we're doing all these facility renovations. Yeah, there's some of that, but the chunk of it, if you look at the 3.7 and the 1.3 million, that fixed costs of tech and extracurricular, that's all of our sports programs. The personnel and unfunded costs, 3.7 million, that's really our staff. Who would say no to those two things? Those go directly to kids.
well, in the facilities, you know, we've sunk a lot of taxpayer money into the facilities through the bond.
Mhm.
So, you know, again, business sense would say you got to maintain it because you can't buy another one.
And then the other part is showing them what we get in our levy for timber sales and what we get in our bond for timber sales, getting the message about if you don't pass the levy, number one, we would have to cut out 6 million of our budget right now. But number two, we don't get our junior taxing district timber dollars. That's really, I think, really important to our local community as a logging community. My husband didn't even really understand that when I told him that with our debt service fund for the building is where a lot of our chunk of our timber dollars come in, but we still get revenue in here in the general fund that we've used for projects too.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Well, there's a lot there. Go ahead.
No, I'm just, one of the questions I have though is, so what does the state fund us and what's the calculation? You said 9 teachers.
No, 9 classified staff members, and
Yeah.
they currently fund us at 49. So to give you an idea, we get a total funding for 9 or 11. It's not many.
Well, I
We-
think we need to pinpoint it because it's a good question is why we're going out and asking. And for the bond, what it's gonna look like if we don't. So if the unfair way that the OSPI funds teachers or classified is they don't fund enough teachers for the amount of people we have, right? And then they make you have class sizes of 17.
Mhm.
So
At
it
the
doesn't
elementary.
make sense. So we have to do this to be able to fund additional teachers
So-
to educate a kid.
And we have that dialed in. So. to
But I
give-
mean, that needs to be out there when you talk to people. So
And
if
our.
you just,
Our communication specialists do this with other school districts across the state, and especially the ones that have a double levy failure. They're already analyzing the demographics of Forks and looking at our social media, what's floating out there. Hence the survey that I sent internally on Friday to all of you. We're going to send that to all of our parents tomorrow. And then the chamber, some of our organizations are going to get it out greater so that we can collect that information. Then they're going to help us target that very information, the points of We are only funded 11. We pay for this many out of our grants, our special ed lab. The rest we have to pay through some kind of local revenue.
Yeah.
To give you an idea, with our teachers, we're funded at 49 FTE. We have 90 certificated teachers. We make up the rest of that through special ed, learning assistance program, other funding mechanisms, and some out of local levy dollars. But we could really break that down and show them what it
So
is.
some of the stuff you'd have to cut would be like extracurricular activities.
Correct. When you might have seen in the news about Moses Lake, when they were going into binding conditions where they were having to, make their students raise money, and the students had to pay to play.
Port Angeles has always done that too. Okay.
There's a lot of moving parts. That could be very overwhelming too.
One thing in
Voting.
voting that's different is our population is getting less.
And older.
And there's more, Airbnb.
I know.
You know, so that's gonna come into play. too.
Mhm. That the team that we hired as consultants, I've given them all of that information, and they're doing the research for us to figure out the best strategy to target our population, and they're really good at it.
A lot of people don't even live here,
I know.
that own these houses.
Well, they don't get a vote here,
Yeah, that's true. I know.
but that can help us or hurt us.
Well, that's true.
Kyle, do you remember when Corey came and talked to us? Didn't he say that that's in our favor, though?
I thought he said it was in our.
Right, because they don't have an opportunity to
But we
vote.
still get-
As long as the people who moved away were not your yes voters.
Yeah.
You don't, I mean, I need to get, one of the things on my list to do is we can get the list of who voted last, and we'll probably wait till the general election is done, and then we can see what our footprint is. And see who voted in which precincts. I think we have 7 precincts. About 3,500 is our footprint. At least it used to be, isn't that about right?
Oh, you mean population footprint, not
Bill
voters.
Bill has 24 in the.
No, voters.
3,500 voters?
His precinct.
Oh, yeah, I've got 12. Some have left.
Okay, so you're thinking 4, and are you thinking we maximize the $1.50 per thousand?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
What do others think?
I guess.
What would you prefer? Or ideas? Or thoughts?
Well, it's a homeowner, I would say half, but you don't pay taxes. But, no, I mean, might as well go for the max.
mhm,
Sure.
mhm, mhm.
I think one of the hard messages, because not all the voters are parents of students. And so their vested interest is somewhat less than what if you had kids in the school, old people.
What happens is Quinn. Well,
And, the importance of what we're doing, what 90 teachers and 90 paras are doing, to bring up, to educate our children,
Mhm.
would be an important piece of information, because you got to sell to people that don't have a vested interest in the school, that maybe have done their time and their taxes.
So we'll use one strategy for our staff and employees, and then we'll use another strategy for our parents. And we know who our parents are, and we have a way to communicate with them. The $1,000,000 question that our consultants will need help with is your aging population, how you get the information out to them. We'll probably do an old-fashioned mailing of some sort. And then, because we need to communicate in multiple ways, social media, our PTO groups are going to help us with messaging. Our unions are going to help with messaging. Our students are going to help with messaging.
Various clubs,
Mhm.
Elks, Lions, they all have lots of old people.
when will they have this report for us?
So we just met last week for the first time. Once we get our rate and everything, then they'll start getting the flyers or messaging that we're gonna put out through social media, but they're looking right now to see, trying to analyze our stats of our
How much does
community.
that cost?
For the entire, getting a communication plan that we can use as a system every school year, we signed up for $10,000 worth.
You don't get fries with that.
So they're helping us build that system. And it's, and two strategies. One, just so we have better communication. When there's a lack of communication, people make up their own communication. I heard this about the school, and then it just turns into, and then the second part is we're gearing up already for the bond. So you start messaging with the EP&O levy, and you weave that and you continue that into the next school year. So when we go out for the bond in 2027, we're not just hitting them all of a sudden. We're going to start, once we get through the EP&O levy, we're going to say, and now we're getting ready to work on the bond through a citizens committee, replacement of the middle school. I mean, it's a very strategic plan.
Is
So
there anything else on the ballot at that time?
I don't
Are we the only
believe
one?
so. I don't believe so.
Nobody else going out for them.
I think everybody's gone out in November right now. Hospital doesn't have their, they had their levy last year. Yeah. I don't know. Bill's on the fire. He hasn't said anything in the fire department. I think we're it. Okay, any other thoughts? Any other thoughts from you guys out there? Kyle?
Do we need another work session to?
Just like we did, we talked about earlier. Maybe we could say the rate per thousand can kind of really be deceiving because that changes based on, assessed values, timber, revenues. And we try to get this thing, it's 1.3 million. Just give them a hard number.
But with the 1.3 million, we'll get another 5 million.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because, I mean, like you said, the last experience, you went to voters and said, that's gonna be about 25,000, and really it was 80 cents. You know, it was-
At the end of 4 years. Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting thought.
Mhm. And it doesn't matter what the per thousand is, you can only collect 1.3 million. That's what's on the
No
ballot.
more, but we
No
can
more.
collect less.
Yeah, but we can, yeah. No, we're still gonna collect 1.3
Yes,
million.
you're right, you're right.
Right.
The LEA.
We might not collect it all from you, we might collect it from some of the timber. That's one of the moving pieces. You don't know how much you're gonna get
Right.
in your, from you doing your taxing district.
Mhm.
Okay,
And do we need another work session
I
to
don't think so.
prioritize this stuff or do it
I think we do it once we
remotely?
once we pass the,
Yeah.
and then figure it out
Okay,
based on the moving targets.
all right.
Okay.
Is there nothing else on this that we need to talk
That's
about?
it. Heavy stuff.
So we decided
feel like
on a 4-year at $1.50.
Yeah, that's why I did it again.
Okay. Well, this work session is adjourned. So let's move right into our regular meeting of October 29th, 2024. This meeting is now in order. We'll dispense with the pledge as we already did one. And I think it should carry over nicely. So we'll start out with approving the meeting minutes of our regular board meeting of October 14th, 2024. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Ron. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Shannon.
Workshop.
No, this is the regular meeting. Okay, any corrections to the minutes on that meeting? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. They're approved. Now, we'll entertain a motion to approve the board workshop minutes, the PLC National Cohort 2 Solution Tree session that we held on October 24th, 2024. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the board workshop. PLC National Cohort.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks. Any corrections or additions, deletions to that? Okay, not hearing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay. And one more time. Is there a motion to adopt tonight's agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ron, thank you. Any additions to it? Or deletions, tabling of anything? I don't hear any, so all those in favor of adopting tonight's agenda say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. And we have an agenda. So the first thing up is public comments and questions. Is there anyone with a comment or a question? If so, please stand and identify yourself. Nobody on the list? All right. Anybody out in the ether world? All right, thanks. Well, then let's move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to accept tonight's consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept tonight's consent agenda.
Second,
A second.
any questions?
I had one on the bills there. Field trip. Is something to the field?
They come out and do the turbidity, or not turbidity, the GMAX testing. And then they inspect everything to see if there's anything that needs immediate repair.
Oh.
And they do that yearly.
And did they have to repair anything?
And we have a couple of tears. Didn't we have a couple tears out there
Yeah,
somewhere?
we've got some fluid that's pulled up, some seams. They basically come out, do an overall health of the field, identify any problem areas, do the GMAX testing. They usually spend a full day working on the field when they're here, in addition to doing the GMAX testing, but the assessment was really good in terms of how it's holding up over the life cycle.
Yeah.
So again, I think just the idea that it's a big investment, so
Yeah.
ongoing maintenance is important. So
Well,
extending the life of it,
great. Well, kudos to you and the maintenance guys.
you know.
Yeah, Bill, for keeping up with that and keeping it nice. Is a multi-tiered system of support coordinator, is that like a librarian?
No,
Although she has a certificate in that.
she has an out-of-state certificate. She's trying to get her certificate in Washington State. She has an Oregon State certification. So potentially, when we bring her on board, if that was something, she originally applied for the librarian, but because she doesn't have the certification, we can't place her there. So the multi-tiered system of support, how do you guys best describe that, Kyle?
Well, it starts with core instruction.
It starts with what?
Core instruction,
Oh,
so teachers teaching the essential standards, doing it well, doing it every day. We assume that what's happening, and like 80% of our kids are gonna meet standard. And then assessment system, multi-tier assessment system to where you can find the kiddos that aren't benefiting from tier one instruction, and then you can receive some additional intervention and so forth, up to your 2 or 3 kiddos that would probably require intensive intervention.
but this is at the high school?
Yeah, we have one at the elementary school. We have one at the middle school.
Oh,
We've
we
had a
do.
vacant one at the high school. And again, this isn't a good example of using additional grant funding that we have. This is not a locally funded or a state funded position. It's funded through our Title I program and our LAP, Learning Assistance Program.
Okay. And so you say they work with the teachers to make sure that,
And students.
and the students, that keeps them kind of
So there's a
busy,
lot
doesn't it?
of data monitoring and a lot of data analysis that really, if you put that on the principal to do on a daily basis, would be a challenge. So they're kind of the person that can be an expert in that area, and really help guide the interventions and the instruction throughout the building.
Okay,
They may need social emotional learning support, not counseling. That's very different. Social emotional learning support. So I was over at the elementary school and I observed a group of students with their coordinator, and they were at a lunch bunch. So they weren't pulled out of core instruction, but they were talking about how to properly interact with one another.
Currently, Brittany and she has been supporting us at the high school, and we have aligned the work that she's doing for the MTSS coordinator to align to our school improvement plan. So we've been identifying tier 2 to tier 3 students that have issues with academics and failure rate, and trying to get systems in place to scoop them back up so that way we don't lose anybody.
And so you've been doing that,
Yeah,
and now she'll do that starting on
yeah.
Thursday or whatever,
Right.
Friday. Okay,
Let's have her shadow Brittany though, so that she gets a good feel of what a strong program looks like, because Brittany's done a beautiful job of building it.
I saw where she was also a mentor, teacher mentor person. Sounds like she seemed pretty qualified.
And I heard that she worked with somebody's daughter for a while,
She did what?
worked with somebody's daughter for a while.
Yeah, Ron, she worked at Ashley's school.
That Warren thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions about the consent agenda?
So what's the resolution, excess property tax?
That's for our current EP&O levy. We have to,
Oh, we got it.
yeah.
Don't
And
we
it's
have
for
to-
the 714,000. It has to be voter approved first, and then we have to do a resolution that we provide to them every year.
How come we don't have that as a resolution separate on the agenda? Don't we usually do resolutions separately?
We do.
Oh.
It's okay.
Okay,
It can be a consent,
you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
and it is routine.
okay.
And it outlines both our levy and our collection rate for our levy and our collection rate for our, remember, bonds are for buildings, levies are for levies.
I wasn't being critical of
That's
it
okay.
being there. I just thought maybe something had changed.
No.
Okay,
That's
well, if there are no
what I
other
said.
questions, then all those in favor of the motion to adopt tonight's consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It is adopted. Okay, leadership report. First up is the K-12 Summit. The 25-year blowout.
So Myron and Kyle and I attended, represented Insight School of Washington. And so, Myron, you and Kyle, you want to share what your thoughts were about our summit in, Virginia?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Well, I get first off the 25th anniversary, which is pretty amazing. One of the sessions, they had a panelist of folks that have really been there from the beginning to sort of hear this historical perspective about online learning and all the challenges that they, have endured over time. But really kind of celebrating that, they're here and it's not going away, and that K-12 or Stride have done a really pretty incredible job. I mean, I think it's probably the most articulated, robust, best company out there for online learning, which obviously they were tested through the pandemic. So that was really neat to hear. It's just always neat to go back there because, they have presenters that share on various topics. And from my opinion, it's, really on the cutting edge of education. So you get to hear some of these ideas that they're applying in an online environment, and it really sparks your mind about how we can come back and use some of those ideas to make our brick and mortar schools better. So I had a great time. Like I said, I just enjoyed learning from folks that are in the world that really feel like they're kind of on the cutting edge of what's going on in education. So it's a positive experience. Learned a lot.
Myron, you want to share with me what we talked about with special ed? You want to share with the board what?
Yeah, sure. One of the things I thought that was really cool that they highlighted, so on the on the full day event, we had breakouts. I want to say there were 6 of them that we went to, if I remember right. There's 6 different breakouts, but one of the breakouts they sent us to, I thought was really cool because they set up little workstations. With each workstation, ID was kind of structured based upon a student's specific needs based on a 504 or an IEP.
Or a
And so
learner, an language learner.
Or yeah, or that's their language learners are as well. And so they had all of these different kind of scenarios, and they gave us, I wanted to say it was like 10 minutes to go through and pretend that we were a student trying to adapt those modalities. And then I think they also kind of showed some videos of what it looked like for us to provide related services. So it really kind of showed how K-12s built their programs, and in order to try to meet as much accessibility as possible to support kids in what we're doing. Like everything that we do, just so you know, like if there's any time I want to use a non-K-12 product to support student learning, it goes through a whole bunch of accessibility compliance things before I'm even allowed to consider it. And that's one of the things that we think is really, really important as an organization, making sure that the technology we're using can be made available to all students for all, at all times.
Two things I think really stood out for me, and that was they had a lot of student voice where you could hear reasons of why kids chose online learning as opposed to brick and mortar. And we heard over and over the special needs of students. Maybe they have some kind of illness. Some had terminal illnesses. And one story that was particularly moving for me as a kid who was diagnosed with a terminal disease. And he thought he couldn't go to school. He had some poor experiences in the brick and mortar school where he was attending. They wouldn't adapt. They didn't believe his illness.
Oh,
And he was diagnosed when he was like 7 or 8. And he's alive and well. And the original teacher of that student, they said, no, he's 25. He works construction. He firmly believes that if he had not had the opportunity to keep learning, that the diagnosis probably he would have given up. And I heard stories like that over and over, and really truly that always, when I would go to graduation early on when people were naysayers, hearing those individual stories of kids really connected me. When they said the school didn't believe that this is how I was, and so we came here and we got help. That was moving. And then the second thing I think that was eye-opening is the work they're doing with artificial intelligence. They now have their own artificial intelligence division. That was new. They didn't have that last year. And of course, it can help do the heavy lifting for teachers in personalizing intervention by let's say that you have 10 readers in your classroom and they're all on different grade levels. You can put it in a system that sorts out the same lesson at different grade levels, the same learning target, but that's how you start getting them to grade level targets. And that was pretty interesting.
Can we do that, or can only Insight?
We need to first figure out the targets that we're going to focus on, the PLC work that we're doing. But yeah, my understanding of school districts who fully implemented right now, like I think Port Townsend has, you don't have all people on board who don't want to use it. They think that it's going to replace a teacher. It shouldn't replace a teacher. It really is going to do the heavy lifting where the teacher can then spend more time with the kids.
So the teachers are resistant,
Not all. I mean,
but some are.
You're going to get some, yeah.
the old.
I kind of take it to like back when calculators came on, when I was a young man, when they were having calculators and there was all that stress about people not being able to do math because of calculators. I think it's similar to that, right? It's a new technology, a new way of thinking, and it, causes people to get a little bit nervous.
But I did learn the term hallucination. I did not. Was that new for you? Did you know?
That was a really cool. I loved how she explained that, Vida.
I can't do it as well, but it's a term. Look at that hallucination. What that means in AI. It's very, very fascinating. Large language modules. No,
Large language learning. Large language modules. They're LLMs.
But it's the way that AI learns. It's pretty fascinating. Yeah.
Oh, that's scary.
So do they have any insights into brick and mortar schools and their demise over the coming years?
Just, I think I heard again, and we did see a huge growth in student population, although there's some speculation as to what's ghost population. But that there's still a need, and that we're going to see an increase in demand for online programs because parents want flexibility. So we're positioned well. I would say that's what you heard, right? What was the increase this year? 12%, Myron? Do you remember?
I don't recall what the increase was, but I,
Overall, we
learning.
serve about 250,000 students nationwide
Oh, wow.
in our program in K-12. They're each state, they're very different programs because of legislation. Mhm.
And K-12 is not the only game out there, right?
Yeah, there are other
Yeah.
products, but overall, and then it was just fun you're seeing the same people coming back. So, I felt really proud of our school district because we've been around a long time. Of the 25 years, we've been here since 2007.
Yeah.
So 18 of those were well seasoned. And then the headquarters it's just a fun place. I chose to be with you guys for our virtual learning as opposed to going and playing cornhole.
Well,
So I missed out on the
I could
cornhole play.
tell you were really disappointed.
Kyle was there representing and Myron was there representing.
And how did you guys do?
You didn't play without me?
No, I hung out with Sheila. We got our, they had a booth where you could get like a digital character made of yourself. But you did it, so Sheila and I did that. But they had a lot of like interactive games, and then they did the school recognition.
And indoor golf?
What's that?
Where was the indoor
Yeah, they
golf?
had a little indoor golf thing there.
that's good, you're paying attention. You were moving.
I was learning with you guys. That was really important to me. Yeah.
All right. Anything else on K-12? How was the food?
Pretty good.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it's really good.
Really good, yeah.
Okay, Diana, this attendance report.
Okay, so we're monitoring attendance again, and we have a district-wide committee where we're meeting once a month. And so the average daily attendance, if you look on the first slide, is at the elementary school about 94%, 93%, middle school 92.89%, Forks High School 91.62. That's really good. So our average is at 92, almost 93%, but that's not regular attendance by students. That's your average daily attendance. So if you go to the next slide, you can see that about 11% of our students missed between 10 and 19%. Trying to see where, yeah. About 4% of our students are missing between 20% and 29%, and then that number decreases. If you look at our average, and make sure I read this right, we're right now at 80%, somewhere a little over about 82%. Remember, regular attendance, chronic absenteeism is missing more than 2 days per month. And we really did start a little in the hole. Lindsay said it has gotten better in looking at the data.
So we don't have a record of this from last year, though.
We do. We were higher at this time last year.
We were?
Yeah. But in the first month of September, I believe we were higher, but in October, Lindsay said we're higher than where we were last year.
Yeah.
Our goal is to be at 80% at the end of the year. So we got to maintain.
So do these numbers at all correlate with our staff absences? Or can they? Is there a correlation or? I wonder.
I don't know how we would show that correlation, although we're getting after adult attendance in a different way this year. So
Is it helping?
mhm. It really is. Mhm.
Okay. All righty. October.
Go down to the report part of the chart. Yeah, that one. Okay, so for brick and mortar FTE, We're still down 22 FTE. We were projecting 874, so we are at 850 students. At the elementary school, and this includes our transitional kindergarten, we're down 8. Sarah, and I don't put our ECAP, where are we at with our ECAP numbers, do you know?
We are, so our goal is to hit
54.
54. We are in the mid 40s, which is an anomaly that OLECAP has not seen before. So my understanding is that we have 45 days from the time school starts to hit our 54 student enrollment numbers to get
Our
all of
full funding.
full funding, yeah. We're nearing that 45 days and we haven't hit it, but they've never experienced this before. So we're going to be figuring it out together on what that looks like.
So how do you get people into ECAP?
So our ECAP team has been going to recruiting events. They are pushing out information. They're pushing out on social media and at all the platforms. They went to the
Multilingual path, parent
Multilingual
advisory
path.
committee.
They went the Hispanic heritage event that the
Peninsula
Peninsula
College.
College held. They were there soliciting students. They're really trying.
Do you think is it due to a lack of kids that age in town,
I
or?
think there are a lot of options now. There are a lot of options for preschool.
Mhm.
And how much, so if you don't hit your target, how much money is at stake?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We've
It's never
never
happened
experienced
before.
this, so stay tuned. And we received, if you remember from last board meeting, an additional contract of $190,000 to spend because they had extra money from the state. So we're receiving another $190,000 this year. So it's just going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah.
They get to come. Pay me enough, I'll go.
Start over.
It's a
Yeah.
fun spot.
Okay, so then our middle school, we're about right on target. A few kids shy. High school, again, the losses for, I think, additional running start, we're, I would say, honing in more on that number, and we're gonna see a decrease in going to running start from what was in this senior class to next year's junior class when they're seniors. There won't be as many. Homeschool Plus, we're right on target, and that is both Judy Whitehead and Janan Meyer. And Insight School of Washington, Myron, these are October's numbers, and I know you have new numbers now, but we're still seeing an increase every week, right?
Sorry, I had to find my unmute button. Yeah, we generally are. So as of right now, we are running about 553 as our anticipated. We're maybe close to just about 550 in that neighborhood for the October 1 count for his actual head count. That's going to obviously from FTE perspective, it's going to be a little bit lower based on compliances, but yeah, we're continuing to grow in the K5.
And then middle school, you can see that the elementary and middle school we're starting to catch up. And then high school is where our biggest deficit is, but those are probably the most stable numbers. And so if you look at the overall picture for the month of October, we're down about 700 students, and that is okay because now we've got a cushion. So we don't have to do a budget extension. That was the whole point of this. But Myron and I kind of talked, I really think we'll get closer to where the difference is going to be you don't have them all year. So we might get our FTE or head count up to that number, but because they're coming at any time throughout the year, we won't have them for the full FTE over the 10 months.
So there is a chance we'll have to give money back though.
In January, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But can you go, like, we're projecting our 9-month averages to be, if you go back to the high school slide really quick, Diana.
Yeah.
So right now it's showing, these are averages, right? This is both, is this only October count or this September plus October averaged?
September plus October average.
Okay. So we are projecting right now that we're going to end up in high school, our 9-month average close to 1900. So we're anticipating, and when we say 9-month, that's from October 1 to June 1. So we might get pretty close to the 2100 that's in the budget.
Yeah, I think we will. I really do. And you're seeing that from all grade levels, right? You're not just seeing it from high school.
Right. Yeah, we're generally seeing increases. We're generally seeing increases even from last year.
Yeah.
Right now, we're seeing some general growth from even last year at this point. So.
Okay. Thank you, Myron.
All right. Okay. Board member reports. Anybody have anything?
Nope. Went to the game the other night and it was pouring down rain, not a lake. Sweet.
Good.
That was pretty cool. I was like sitting there thinking, boy, remember that one game? It was just running down the sides of it.
Yeah, it was actually pretty comfortable under there.
That was special.
And we won.
And we won.
Yeah.
And
Last
the wind
game of
was
the year.
blowing like a son of a gun and it was a warm wind, so.
Good.
Yeah. Anybody else?
And how about the bathrooms? Were they weren't leaking either?
There you go.
Well, of course they were.
Oh.
Don't put that. Okay, I just had a thought, every now and again, I think it needs to be brought up, this idea of year-round school. So consider it brought up. I don't know how you start a conversation about that or, even see if it's something, it'd be interesting to discuss year-round school, its benefits, its negatives, just get a feel for how people, what's that?
Pros and cons.
Pros and cons, thank you. Get a
Are there
feel for
any
how
schools in
people,
Washington State doing it?
I don't know.
Are there?
It would be,
Who's doing it? Do you know?
A lot of the, there's been a few media releases on smaller schools, Eastern Washington, a lot of the smaller schools. So I think there's some financial incentives for them. Exact benefits, but there are schools in Washington doing it.
and the idea that over the summer you lose, a percentage of what you learned the year before, and
How would it benefit?
I don't know.
I don't know. This one's-
They wouldn't lose that, but.
How do they do
and
sports
you-
then?
I don't know.
I mean, they go the same amount of days, they just spread out their vacation time, is my understanding.
Right, yeah,
Right.
and I would see benefits to teacher burnout and
It's just how you prove it up.
all kinds of things. I don't know. It just seems like,
Or you could get
We're-
on probably on the internet
yeah,
and look it up.
yeah. Well, it just seems, education is changing. Insight K-12, a perfect example of that. And, the old model, I'm not sure, which we still work under, maybe it's time to think about changing it. And I don't see it happening right away. I would certainly see it as a process, because I think you'd have to convince, a lot of folks.
A lot
But
of European countries do that. Scandinavia.
and if you look at the stats from our, the government, they're way ahead of us in a lot of ways educationally. So anyway, just a thought.
And just to go with your thought too, the 4-day
Uh,
is,
Some options,
is
yeah.
really gaining
Traction.
4 days a week.
4 days a week. I think I
Thanks,
talked
I forgot
to
about that.
someone in Idaho for kids, and it's they have every other Friday off
So a
in their
5-4
school district.
Yeah,
But they go longer. Days.
kind of like a 5-4-9 work week.
I mean,
Yeah, because you have to have so many.
so many
Hours.
hours in this classroom. And Idaho might be different than.
You know, and,
Washington.
and the idea, the whole classroom situation is so different from back when everybody in the country were farmers. The students and interests and technology and all that, maybe it's time for folks to think about whether or not a change like that would be a good thing.
Okay.
Just a thought.
Hmm.
Okay. Anybody else? Myron, would you like to report on insight beyond what you've already reported?
We continue to forge forward. I'm really grateful for the partnership we have with Quillia Valley School District. It's amazing. And one of the fun parts, I think, of going to those meetings is talking about what a long-standing partnership we have. It's, a lot of you have been here from the very beginning, including Diana and Kyle. And I think it speaks a lot for what we've been able to accomplish to help students in the state of Washington. So thank you for all of that work. And thank you for continuing to be a supporter of the work we try to do.
You bet. Now, on the consent agenda, you're starting a number of guilds. How are they different than clubs?
So the guild actually is interesting. That actually is a kind of a
Medieval thing.
no, it's not really. Yeah, that's a medieval word. Yeah, you're right. The idea here is that we have our formal esports teams that compete, right, as part of our esports our esports competitions we do with other K-12 schools across the country. But we also have a bunch of kids that just want to get together and play games, and that's what that guild's for. It's kind of like a little gaming club, and sometimes they might be like electronic games, sometimes it could be other games. But that guild is kind of trying to build a little bit more capacity and build some more enthusiasm for kids to get involved in esports and be part of those formal teams. So it's kind of like a more informal gaming club, if you will.
Okay. Kind of like the minor leagues.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Somebody raised the question. Shannon, I think, raised the question earlier this evening, and it was a change from your usual club request. So thank you so lot.
No problem. Thank you.
New business. RICO. Organized crime grant.
That's the Recreation Conservation Office in Washington State. And if you pull up the document, they awarded 2 out of 19 applications, and we were number 1. So kudos to Bill, Jan, Linda Scarlett, Ellen, our new Linda Scarlett. They all worked on the grant together. But it is $1.2 million. My understanding is there's going to be a second round so if we accept this $1.2 million grant, we are going to have to match 2.3 million. There are other grants that we'll be able to go through. In fact, there's going to be a round 2 probably with more money because the legislation has appropriated it, and not that we would for sure get another round, but look where we are. We're number 1. We would have to use probably timber dollars, local dollars. And again, that comes into play with all of the moving targets with the levy. What I don't want people to get confused is that we are absolutely going after levy money for this. We would not do that. We're going to figure out how to pay for it. But we have to accept it by December 15th, I think. And so I put on here as a motion. I can assure you, like our biomass, our stadium, everything, it'll work out. We just got to figure out how we get the money.
Got to get this money first.
It's a good start.
And this would help us do the infrastructure for the drainage as well, because what we have to do to help the parking lot, that's why we would put the playground and the drainage of the parking lot in year 2, somewhere in 2006, 2007. This project would need to be done, I believe, by the 1st of January in 2028. So it's a ways out. You get 2.5 years.
3 years.
Almost 2 years
Yeah.
to get the project done.
Oh, well, that's pretty close. Cool. That'll be gone like yesterday.
But if we do not take this money, then the next person, look at the next probably 2 that would get it is going to be Underwood Underwood Parks and Recreation, wherever that is. Then number 4, the Elma School District is trying to get a field. And so they would get the money instead of us.
Forget it.
Just saying.
Are you trying to get a football field?
I'll make a motion that we approve the RCO.
I'll
Is there a
second it.
second?
I'll
Yeah.
second it.
Any other questions or comments?
No, I
Diana?
just want to make sure that the public knows we're not going after our levy for this, that we're replacing what's most important for our kids, and that's the instruction in the classroom. We are doing huge things for instruction with our focus on guaranteed viable curriculum. Plus, the majority of that levy is for the unfunded and the extracurricular and all of that. Should we have additional local funding because we were able to figure out all those numbers, we might use that, but that's not why we're going out for the EP&O levy. And I want to make sure, because there's already some negativity from parents who think we're taking away Little League area. We are not. That area will be multi-purpose, and it will be like our football field where you can use it more readily during the school day. They can use it for anything. We'll be able to paint. Yeah, we'll be able to paint. If we wanted to put soccer, I think soccer is most worried about it, is what I'm hearing. But Bill and I'm hoping Shannon will go with us. We'll go to the Little League board and let them know. But one of our staff members said that there's some negativity out there. I see it as another opportunity, another grant, another way.
And the whole point of, I mean, there are 2 points. One is so our kids don't have to drive to Beaver, and the risks that go with that, and to provide recreational space for the community.
And this does not have to go through the city of Forks like the other projects. It's
Why
a
not?
very different grant. I don't know why it
Oh.
come directed to us. But
Well,
the
we've
fact
been-
that we're number 1,
Yeah, we put into this a while ago too. I think,
Yeah.
Before, but, yeah, I mean, start to, those little leaguers become high schoolers and they probably at some point in their lives. So
Right,
it's
right.
benefits, just like our football field. When the kids, we were doing that and they had to sit out for a year or whatever until we had it done. But once we were done, I mean, I'm sure those little guys in the little league loves to play on it.
Oh,
And
you
then
bet.
if
And
you-
the parents of the little leaguers become parents of the high school.
High school.
and then if you remember, I mean, we partner with both the city for the park but those fields are oftentimes not ready for us. And then the girls can use Beaver, but they don't have grass in their typical playing. So it really puts them at a disadvantage if you really wanted to look at a Title IX issue. So there would be a girl field and a boy field because they're very different fields.
Right.
The baseball has
Larger area.
the grass, and then the
90-foot
females,
base.
the girls has, yeah. So they're very different.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You guys are ready for a vote, right? Was that it?
Yeah.
They voted?
Did we
Cool.
vote?
Oh, you didn't.
No, we haven't
We haven't
Yeah,
voted
I'm
yet.
sorry.
We haven't voted yet.
Okay.
We need to vote.
We do have motions though. So I was gonna say, are there any more comments or questions? Now, are there any more questions? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the RICO grant, the RCO grant, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no.
Speaking of ball fields, the Beaver ball field, they put a nice flagpole up here, a nice big flag. Oh, yeah, that's really cool.
Where is that?
Just in front of the concession stand.
Cool.
Yeah. I
And
don't know if the Lions Club did it.
Yeah.
Is it?
I thought they were also going to get a scoreboard.
They got 2.
Did they get them?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Not yet.
Oh.
Wayne's working on
What's that?
So what are they gonna do out there after we do get this done?
Babe Ruth and
But Babe Ruth will want to play on our field once we get them done.
well,
But there's-
We could go do it.
there you go.
I wondered if, because of what we've done with the stadium area, if that didn't help us in
It
this
did.
grant,
Mhm.
because we're committed to
Mhm.
improving our facilities.
Remember,
and
we did
spent
the-
money.
Yeah, we did the field first and then the restrooms and then the
Well,
message,
stands and
yeah.
restrooms.
The messaging that we're gonna put out, not only for the EP&O levy, is that we're able to take care of most of our big facilities through bond and grants. And we're gonna really focus our EP&O levy.
Okay. All right, new business continued. A letter to the Department of Natural Resources in support of timber sales. That requires a motion. Does, Diana or anybody want to talk about that?
Yeah, so Kyle and I have been going to the county's RAC meetings, and I can't remember what that stands for, but there's been a concern about the push of entities tying up our timber dollars for these legacy forests. And so one of the, several of the sales in Clallam County that actually benefit Port Angeles more than our area, Alley Cat Parched and Treewell, are all on this Board of Natural Resource agenda for November the 6th. And so what they're requesting, and there have been several people on the Board of Natural Resources who vote against timber sales, not to mention any names, but just pull up one of their videos and you can see who it is, and it's somebody in the K-12 arena. And so they want as many people to provide public comment to the Board of Natural Resources to put pressure on them to approve these sales. I think the sales are almost at account to 1.5 million that will come to Clallam County, these sales. And so this would be our support as a board, and the rationale is in there. And then I am going to be public comment. The last meeting I attended, there were over 50 public comments. And anything from environmentalists saying you shouldn't log at all, to junior taxing district members. Marty Brewer and his board have put one of these together, Swim will. But again, it's real. They're coming after the next level of our junior taxing districts. And although they say it's a very small portion, look what we've been able to do. So.
Yeah, so a little backdrop on these sales. They're in the Elwha watershed for the city, but if you look in on the ground, it doesn't affect it at all.
And that's their major.
City council of Port Angeles voted that they don't want to sell these sales. And that fight's been going on for a long time with the city and the watershed in Elwha water district, or the Port Angeles water district. So
I thought they got it out of the Elwha River.
no,
They do get their water out of the Elwha River, but they're afraid that if they don't, they want these portion of the forest to be set aside so they don't log there at all.
Yeah, log there at all,
Ever,
because they're trying to say it's a water issue with the border, because they've had low water. And
Right.
that's why but there's no science to it. Clallam County Commissioners voted to sell it. I mean, they want these sold. They've had hearings over the last year on this same subject.
Oh.
But the city, yeah,
I didn't realize that anybody can block sales.
anybody.
Anybody.
Yeah.
But to have another, that would be like the city of Forks voting against timber sales that are gonna support it.
Yeah.
But
Because it
it's
would help
starting to
them
happen
too.
everywhere. And it's based on, it's political. It really is
It is.
nothing but
That's why they're waiting till
politics.
the 6th. They'll have a new lands commissioner by the 6th.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter because
They don't
these
take office
sales,
till
these sales
January.
have been put up by the current land commissioners that get them sold. So, and then it's the Board of Natural Resources that vote to approve them every month. So these sales will come up in November to be approved to put on the docket.
So how big is the board? How many members?
5,
And is it
let's see, 5? See,
majority?
there's University of Washington, Washington State University, the governor's appointment, the land commissioner, and OSPI. How many did I count there?
Did you say WSU? and UW?
WSU and UW.
So is majority rules?
Yeah.
So why doesn't Port Angeles School District get on the city council and think, well, what are you guys thinking?
Well,
They
that's
have been,
good
they
question.
have been,
They have been.
Do-
they have
Are
been.
they recipients of junior taxing?
Yes,
City
Yeah.
of Fort-
yes, they are.
Fort-
City
No,
of
not
Port
the-
Angeles is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and these sales affect them.
Yeah.
But what they
In the
want to
fire
do is
district?
take that land and turn it into recreational.
Oh,
So they're still going to use it, but again,
You don't get no value.
yeah. And-
well, we're looking at both bed
Where are the
tax,
sales at?
motel tax.
Up there on the.
Yeah, they're in that valley.
in that valley somewhere.
Any tributary from creeks or like one of these cells, they say it dumps in the lot, doesn't. There's, it's on the other side of the ridge. There's no way water's gonna go up and down into that. So it's crazy.
But it's just a matter again of,
Yeah, it's
I
political.
think, fighting for the purpose and making sure that you guys are all aware. I mean, I'll fight for, because if it starts happening there, then it's gonna just continue to happen over here.
They're gonna pull the plug on Diana. She only gets 2 minutes and they're really strict
So-
about it.
They
You didn't say
Cut her
that the
off.
superintendent is, OSBI was on the board, or
He is.
he is on, so there's maybe more than 5.
Ron, have you heard
Yeah.
Rainier sold all of Goodman to some service outfit? Eco Trust.
Eco Trust,
That's
yeah.
That's the west, well, yeah, so it's the West Jefferson block. And it's Eagle Trust that handles the money for investors, and their investors that are in Eagle Trust. It's gonna be managed as a tree farm. The only thing different they'll probably do is go from 35 to 37-year rotation to a 45, 50-year rotation. But they are gonna actually operate as
And the timber company.
is a timber. And
They're good.
Because I heard they weren't.
I did too.
no, they will be. I
Already
already
got a
got it.
couple. Don't they have a sale or two that's up?
And then Campbell Group off the north.
Oh, they did?
Yes, they did.
Didn't, the Navino didn't buy any?
No.
Okay.
No, and they're still negotiating on the South Clown, which is the 5,000, the Forks Goodman area. They haven't sold that one.
So Campbell Group brought the Dickey and all that, or?
No, it's a
Did
kind
you
of,
bring this?
I don't know the maps. I have to look them up, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's up on
Well, he can,
Grindstone, up on the Forest Service, and then, like over, not sure exactly where it extends to. There's a line there.
Blue Cross area, maybe?
Yeah, yeah, on that area.
So is Rainier divesting of all its peninsula lands or all their Washington lands?
No, just the Clown and.
Why?
120,000 acres.
It raised too much.
they're doing a bunch of other initiatives.
Yeah,
It's
so
kind of
they're
interesting, but
getting,
go ahead.
yeah.
Like over by Port Gamble, they're putting in the whole, I don't know, $1 million condos on that waterfront. They're building a community there, kind of like Seabrook.
Rainier is?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're
they're
moving out of
into-
timber into,
Mhm.
Well, in certain areas.
they're,
And that's the old Polk land,
yeah, yeah.
and they just bought that not too long ago, so
That's
they're
where
gonna
my
keep.
son
We
is.
don't get any,
Yeah.
we don't get any taxes off Rainier.
Oh, yeah,
No, we do.
yeah,
The-
forest
we-
excise tax.
Yeah, the or,
Well, that's not a junior taxing district. That goes.
no, but that helps lower your cost per thousand on these initiatives.
Yeah.
And so we want them to be logging on those. We get about $500,000, we get $500,000 a year through timber excise tax. So we want that.
Well, they put a cutter on now.
Okay, well, I believe we have no motions on this yet?
I'll make a motion.
Thanks.
Sign that letter and send it off.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Kevin. All right, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of sending this letter to the Department of Natural Resources in support of timber sales, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it.
Could we send that to the sports forums or is that?
Yeah, we could put it in the paper. But we're gonna send this letter to the Board of Natural Resources.
So people don't know about it.
Yeah.
You-
Yeah.
Or Angela's paper, anybody reads it.
No, probably Forks Farm, yeah.
Mike does. Oh, yeah.
So essentially Rainier is moving out of timber and going into the housing shortage to prove that. That's good.
For the rich.
All right, water view. Number 3, QVSD Development of the early communication plan.
I just put the link to the survey in here. I sent it out in my Friday memo, so all of the staff can, fill that out. But again, this is what our consultants are gonna use to help figure out what messages we need to send over the year. They're gonna find they're gonna look at the surveys that are put together, and then they're gonna get a focus group together of external community members for you guys, because I told them about your goal of improving our communications with our overall community, and they're gonna help with the facilitation of those focus groups. So they'll dovetail into our work. But you also can please take the survey. They want internal people and external
I
people.
think I was too lackadaisical when they did it.
It's okay. You probably spoke your mind then.
I took it. I'm waiting to get my
So please
$100
do.
gift card.
You're having your Amazon. Okay, that's all I had on that. I'm excited about, I mean, that's a lot of work we're doing overall with our instructional planning and then communication planning, but in the end, it will help improve things.
Okay. Well, thanks for everybody's hard work. I'm glad you guys got back. Oh, we left. Well, I'm still glad you guys got back from Washington DC, didn't get caught up there in the swamp, as they say. Unless there's something else that somebody's remembered, too bad. We are adjourned.
Thank you, Myron. Thank you, Nathan.
You guys keep going.